And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, Scott Wolter with us. Scott, would you go to Mars if they offered you a trip, and what would you be looking for?
Would I go to Mars? That's a really good question. I have to say I don't think I would because it depends. I mean, if you could time travel there and spend a period of time and then time travel back, I'd consider that. But right now, I just think it would take too much time to go, and I'm not that young of a guy, so yeah, I guess it depends on the parameters. Would I be interested in going? Absolutely. The geology just fascinates me when I look at the photographs that are, that are being transmitted back. It just begs. I just want to get out there and start taking samples and figure out what the rocks are and what the geology is.
What do you think you'd discover? What do you think you'd find there?
Well, I think we would find out that my gut feeling is that Mars seems to be a planet that is farther down the road in its geological history than we are here on Earth. There is signs that there was water. We see evidence of water, of lots of water being
lots
on
of
the
it.
planet.
Yeah,
and something has made that water disappear or go. Maybe it's below grade within the planet somewhere. But clearly there was a lot of water that interacted, and we can see evidence of that geologically. So it seems to be farther down the road geologically than Earth. But, I don't know. Those are one of the questions I'd love to try to answer.
Scott, what is the story behind Angel K?
Oh, boy, that's a loaded question. So we were talking about the Book of the Wars of the Lord earlier.
Yeah.
And there are basically two big secrets that are revealed in these documents that supposedly don't exist, that have been suppressed and hidden away. One was the feminine aspect of the Godhead that was definitely in the Bible in the past. But there's a very interesting passage in one of the documents, and I'm just going to read this to you, and I want you to answer the question for me, George, because I'm still wondering what they're saying here. It says this: "Then did a silver beast descend from a cloud in the likeness of a great bird, and spat bolts of lightning from its wings into the water, and the horses of the chariot died. Then did a silver beast descend from the clouds with wings like a bird." This is a biblical passage.
It sounds like something extraterrestrial to me.
Me too. And, I ask that question of people because there's a part of me that goes, they can't be talking about that in a biblical document that has been hidden away from the world for 2,000 years. But in fact, that's exactly what I think it says. So I think this whole question about extraterrestrials that's now coming out, more and more disclosure is happening. And we're hearing about it every single day more and more. It turns out they've been with us the whole time, apparently, according to these biblical documents. And this is something that has been hidden away. And frankly, I think part of the reason, there's two reasons why it's been hidden away. One is the church doesn't want this to come out because if there's extraterrestrials, a lot of people who are Roman Christians today are going to say, if there's extraterrestrials and other life forms in the universe, what does this mean about our understanding of religion and God and all of that today? I think people are going to question their faith. I think this is part of the reason why this document was hidden away.
Well, one of the things the Catholic Church came out with a statement a few years ago that said that a belief in extraterrestrial life does not negate your belief in God. So they kind of tempered it a little bit with that.
Well, I mean, they can come out with a statement, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be a certain segment of their followers that still aren't going to question it. I happen to agree with that. I mean, I think people can have their faith and their belief in a higher power, and the presence of extraterrestrials doesn't change that. I would agree with that, but I don't know if everybody's going to feel the same way.
That's true. Let's take some calls. Joe in the Bronx. Hey, Joseph, go ahead.
George, how are you?
All well, thanks.
Good. Scott, there was recently a discovery of Knights Templar graves, 800 years old, in Staffordshire, England, at St. Mary's Church. Now, there were markings on the graves. There was a Knights Templar cross and tabernacle, and also one had a sword on it. Can you enlighten us by giving us some more information on this?
Well, yeah, and I saw that article. I know what you're talking about, and I'm not surprised to see that at all. I think part of the problem is, people don't always recognize what some of these signs and symbols are that represent the order. And I saw pictures of the crosses, and I'm not at all surprised to see that Templars were there 800 years ago and died and were honored with beautiful grave slabs. I just led a tour over in Scotland, and we went to a number of places in Scotland that had the exact same symbols on grave slabs. Now, those were known to be Templar graves, but we also saw some grave slabs in some old churchyards that people were not aware of Templars being buried there, and there were. So I think it's sometimes there are places where the symbols are just overlooked on these grave slabs and they don't fully understand what they mean. But in this case, I think those graves have been there the whole time, right? They just weren't recognized as being, members of the order that were buried there. I think it's fantastic. And like everything else, the more you're enlightened, the more you understand what the signs, symbols, and tokens are, the more you're going to recognize them out in the field. And I feel that's, frankly, part of my job, is to educate people about some of these symbols and what they mean. And I think it really adds to people's, it enlightens them, and it just adds more interest and fun and joy to going out to places like graveyards. That's one of the things I enjoy, is going to old graveyards and trying to learn more about the people that are there. And you look at those grave slabs, you'd be surprised what you can learn. It's amazing. And here's a good example of it.
You've never been freaked out in a cemetery, Scotty?
Well, there have been some times when it got close to dark or after dark where I kind of let things creep into my own head. But you know something, George, I got to tell you, when our day comes and they put us in the ground, whether we're cremated or not, I would enjoy having people come around and, be there with us. That's how I would feel about it. I would welcome people to come visit us after we're gone.
Absolutely. John, truck driving in Ohio. Hey, John, thank you for calling.
Morning, guys. I think I got confused. Tom got confused. I wasn't talking about Noah's Ark, but the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And now, what I'm curious about is that this, supposedly back in Solomon, it was destroyed, but there's been rumors that it's in Jordan, or that someone's holding that. And I wanted to know what kind of power. I mean, I know we saw the Indiana Jones, but what is the power that someone would want that? And what kind of power would they gain from that?
Well, and they believe it's in a church in Ethiopia. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring up the Ark of the Covenant, because in these documents that we have, we're going to be talking more about this, but it's pretty clear in the documents, and it's also well understood within the Templar traditions that I'm involved in. The secret of the Ark of the Covenant isn't where it is. It's how to make one. In other words, there are several arks out there. And the one that you're talking about could be one of 4 known arcs that are still in the old world. And that could very well be one of them. Some of the arcs that we know existed in the past do still exist and are here in America. And they're hidden here in America. And getting to your question, what is the arc? The arc is a power source. And much like today we have, 5G and 4G systems that run our internet and our grid system and our power grid system, the ancient culture of Atlantis, going back 13,000 years ago, prior to the Younger Dryas catastrophe, the arcs were used as a power source, as a worldwide grid system, if you will. And
some people have touched it, and they got like electrocuted or something, didn't they?
Well, that's the rumor that only I believe it's the Kohan of the 12 tribes understood how to handle the ark, and it's powered by monoatomic gold and other ingredients, if you will, to set up this convection cell current of energy that is neither that doesn't produce any waste. And once this monoatomic cell begins to go, it produces basically limitless energy. And wouldn't it be great if we could harness that energy today and not be dependent upon oil and fossil fuels that are literally killing us right now? This ancient technology, some people believe, goes back to the extraterrestrials.
Interesting.
And I think there's a sound argument that could be made that maybe that's where this power source came from. We've lost it, but you know what they say about things that have been lost, they can be found again.
Let's go to Brendan in Austin, Texas. Hey, Bren, go ahead.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Scott and George. Did you guys see that India will be televising the moon landing in about 3 hours?
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah, that's exciting. And thank you again for having such a great guest like Catherine last night. And Scott, I'm loving everything that you're saying tonight. I wanted to say super quick because you were bringing up the Native Americans earlier. The
Yes.
Edwards Aquifer, where we are, that was a campsite for Native Americans for over 10,000 years. Two of the tribes that used it were the Karankawa and Tonkawa, which means friend and come together. And when the conquistadors came here, the natives told them that people come from the tip of the north, so like Canada, all the way to here, and the south, so like South America, all the way to here. And it was a pilgrimage. They considered it a holy place because the water bubbles up. We have so many springs here. The population of New Braunfels, San Marcos, and Wimberley, which are like 3 cities, had a modern-day equivalent population then to now before the smallpox plague came. That's actually kind of insane.
Well, that's really interesting, and I'm not familiar with that particular site, but I'm going to look into it now that you've mentioned it. And, I think it's really important that we take a second and really give a shout-out to the indigenous people, around the world, but in North America, what a lot of people don't understand, they've been living in balance with their environment for a lot longer than 10,000 years. And, what happened to the indigenous people is nothing less than genocide, yet what people don't understand is that they basically had life figured out a long time ago. What they also don't understand is that when the Templars came over here, starting in the mid to late 12th century, just after the Vikings petered out or were wiped out, according to the indigenous people I've talked to, because they basically were jerks. But the Templars operated for over 4 centuries because they bonded with the indigenous people through ritual and strategic intermarriage. But they practiced the same rituals that we practice in Freemasonry, and they respected each other, and that's why the Templars had so much success, much to the chagrin of the Roman Catholic Church prior to contact. That's how the Kensington runestone got to Minnesota in the center of the continent 130 years before Chris, who never set foot on the land that we now call the United States of America. And this whole notion that he discovered America is absolutely ridiculous. And this is part of the history that is now coming up. But make no mistake, the indigenous people know all about this history, yet nobody ever reached out to them. But I reached out to them. And when I met with them in their sacred sweats, and I finally earned the right to ask my questions, they told me all about the Templars. Their blood brothers is what they called them.
They knew all about it, didn't they?
They knew all about it. And why have we never heard this before, George? You tell me.
It's a good question. Catherine in Canada, let's get you in before the break, Kath. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Scott, I wanted to know your comments on the Shroud of Turin.
Shroud of Turin.
I can tell you about the Shroud of Turin. I just finished filming a 10-episode series with the Grand Master of one of the orders I belong to. His name is Timothy Hogan. He's a fascinating guy. George, if you haven't talked to Tim, you should definitely have him on the show. He's an amazing guy.
Set that up for us, Scotty.
Okay, I can help you with that. Anyway, Tim talks about one of the past Grand Masters of our order, a guy by the name of Leonardo da Vinci.
Wow.
We did a whole episode on this, but Leonardo da Vinci made a deal with the church that he would create a relic for them if in return the Roman Catholic Church would back off on persecuting many of the early Rosicrucian and Knights Templar that were doing good work, the scientists of the time. And so he made this relic for them that is now called the Shroud of Turin.
So you don't think it's authentic?
Well, it's a real shroud. It's got a real image burned into the cloth, but the image is of Leonardo's body. No, the body is a cadaver. The head is Leonardo's face. And if you look, there's a break in the neck between the body and the head, and that's the break between his head and the body of a cadaver.
Are you saying he painted his face on that?
No, he used German lenses and a camera obscura technology. He used alchemy with light to burn the image into the shroud, but it's not of any famous figure other than his face and the body of a cadaver.
Wow.
But it was a deal that he made with the church, and it was created in the bowels of the Vatican. And we did an episode on this, so stay tuned for it. It'll be out sometime around Christmas time on the Gaia streaming network.
Okay, very good. And we do Beyond Belief, as you know, as well, Scott. We'll be back with final calls in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie back with our final segment with Scott Wolter. Scott, your books are still available. How do people get them? What's the best place?
Well, if they want to get a signed copy, the best place to go is to my HookedX website. That's www.hookedx.com. Spell it out, HOOKEDX.com. And I sign all books bought off the website. Of course, you can get it on Amazon as well. But that's the best place to go, and I think people will enjoy them.
And you mentioned your Gaia show on the Templars. Is that available now?
No, it's not. We just filmed it here about a month ago. Tim Hogan and I, and Sid Goldberg was the producer, and it's a really good 10-episode series. They haven't announced when it's going to premiere, but I suspect it'll probably be around the holidays.
Yeah, they're good people over there, and that's where we do our Beyond Belief TV show every month.
Oh yeah, no, they're really good, and I think people are going to be surprised. I gave away one of the secrets with Da Vinci tonight, but that's okay. For you, George, anything.
Let's move on to Tom in Utica to get us started this segment. Hey, Tom, go ahead. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on, George. Sir Knight Scott, Greetings from Utica Commandery number 3, Knights Templar, Utica, New York, celebrating 200 years since our founding by DeWitt Clinton.
Nice.
Hey, where's your commandery, your home Masonic commandery located?
Zion Commandery number 2 in Anoka, Minnesota.
Magnificent, and our greetings to them as well. You're affiliated with several Templar bodies, and what's the difference you find between them? There was one other question that I had. It was kind of a specific. Do you think that the Masonic Templar deferral, saying that we're really not directly affiliated with the old Templars, do you think that's a ruse, or do you think that's
Yeah, there's no question that modern Freemasonry evolved directly from medieval Knights Templarism. In fact, our founding fathers, I had mentioned earlier, 53 of the 56 signers were Master Masons. Many of them were also Knights Templar as well. They just didn't tell anybody. So
I would love to see as complete a list of those Templar signers as possible, because it's very difficult to dig them up. Our grand historian Ron Brown here in New York is doing a tremendous job of research himself, and of course, with our research on our 200th, I've uncovered a lot of the later stuff. When I'm talking with people who are interested about Freemasonry and about the Templars, I make it easy for them all, and I refer to our country as the Masonic States of America, which is.
That's right. You hit the nail on the head, brother.
Yeah, well, we've got to get out there and teach people, because it's dissolving, it's diverting so far away that we can't afford to have any schisms between the different bodies with the blacks and the whites. There were with the I forget the name of the. Prince Hall lodges, and yes, are coming back in contact and getting communication with us. And when I speak to them or any of the bodies that are not aligned with any particular of our grand lodges, I tell them that, look, this country is headed toward dissolution, but we've got to stay together, because we put it together once. And we're probably going to have to put it together again.
I couldn't agree more, brother. And it starts with us getting our own house in order and understanding our own history, because a lot has changed since the time of our founding fathers, even within the craft. And that's part of what I've been doing, going around speaking at lodges, speaking at commanderies. And it starts with us to understand our own history, and then we need to go out and teach the world, what we're about and how this country was truly founded. And it goes back to the medieval Knights Templar, and our founding fathers knew all about it. We've just forgotten it in the 200, almost 50 years since the founding happened. So, we got work to do, but we can do it. And, people like you spreading the word within the brotherhood is great, and we just got to keep doing it. That's my mission. I'm proud to be a Mason. I'm proud to be a Templar. I'm proud to be an American, and I wanna see us get back to the good things that we were founded upon.
Scott, roughly how many Freemasons are there out there?
Well, and don't quote me for sure on this. I think there's just over 1 million. 5 million I know around the world, and I think we're close. Well, don't hold me to these numbers, but about 5 million worldwide, and
not a lot, really not a lot.
Not really. After World War II, a lot of guys came back and missed that camaraderie, that brotherhood that they had with their buddies during the war. So there was a big uptick in membership, but but those guys are dying off rapidly.
Yeah.
But a lot of young people are joining and becoming Masons because they're looking for some of those answers to the big questions in life. And organized religion is not doing it for a lot of these young people. And a lot of these young people that are looking into Freemasonry, they're interested in the history. They're interested in the esoteric stuff that we have and learning. They want to learn because these young people are sharp. And so we are seeing an uptick, and I think we're going to see more people wanting to learn more about Freemasonry, and I think they'll be glad that they did.
East of the Rockies, in North Carolina we go. Sue's with us. Hello, Sue. Go ahead.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
You mentioned something earlier about Oak Island. Did you say that was in Nova Scotia?
It's near Nova Scotia in Canada.
Oh, because I was looking on my atlas and I could not find it.
Yep. If you look in Mahone Bay, about 50 miles south of Halifax, southwest, you'll see Mahone Bay, and it would be on the northwest side, close to the mainland there. And
there is an area, Sue, in North Carolina called Oak Island, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But
That's right.
but that's not the one we're talking about.
No, the one we're talking about is in Nova Scotia. George is right.
What significance did that have?
Well, there's a legend that there was a treasure that was buried there. Many people believe that it was the Knights Templar that buried treasure there. In fact, it was. There was a treasure there, and people have been searching the island trying to find that treasure for about 2 centuries, and they haven't found it yet. And there's a reason. But I'm not going to give that away tonight.
Ah, come on, Scotty.
I can see George is sitting there going, okay, give it to us. I can't do that, George. You wouldn't respect me, would you?
I love you. Let's go to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Michael's with us. Hi, Michael.
Good evening, George and Scott. Thank you for the program tonight. It's fabulous.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know that in Flagstaff, Arizona, right behind the Lowell Observatory, in between the Naval Interferometer, is a Vatican Observatory. And word is that was because of a Knights Templar that was put next to Kachina Mountain. And with that, I'll just get off the phone and let you guys go at it.
Well, I'm a little bit confused. You said there was an observatory there and a telescope that belongs to the Vatican, and it was put there by the Knights Templar. Is that what I heard?
I don't think there is an observatory there, is there?
I'm not sure about that.
By the Vatican.
If there is.
I know they have a couple around the planet.
Oh, yeah, for sure they do, yes. But I'm not sure that there's a connection with the Knights Templar there. That seems a little bit dubious to me, but it's something I'm not aware of.
Let's go to Joe in Monterey, California. Hello, Joe.
Thank you for taking my call, George.
Sure thing.
It's a very exciting conversation. There's one or two things that he may want to investigate. One is the Gnostic concept of demiurge, Demiurge, demiurge. It's like an ego principle. Now, Plato talks about it in the positive, but the Gnostics talk about it in the negative, and he might want to look into that. Also, in King Tut's tomb there was an artifact. It looked like a toy, but it was really a flying machine. As far as the Egyptians were concerned, they had that. Now, the trench, the big trench, that's in question in the United States. The Grand Canyon is very, very deep. It would take them so many years to even dig that deep, maybe centuries. So what would you find if you dug that deep? Well, the Egyptians found something. They came here, and they might have found an entrance to the hollow earth. Now, that's conjecture on my part. I have no real information. But if they did find some kind of entrance to the hollow earth, the government would want to keep people away from that because that's a dangerous discovery, a very, very dangerous discovery. Thank you for taking my call, George.
All right, Joe. Why would that be a dangerous discovery, Scotty? What do you think?
Well, the hollow earth theory is something I goes directly against my geological training and education and understanding. So I, until I see some type of evidence that is compelling to get me to go down that road, I'm just going to have to say that I don't buy it. The trench thing that he mentioned, I'm not sure what he's talking about. I thought, was he talking about the Grand Canyon or was he talking about something else? Did that ring a bell for you, George?
And the other trench is the Mariana Trench, right?
Right. Well, that's in the ocean.
Right.
That's something very.
That's
very
like
different.
That's the deepest part of the ocean, isn't it?
Right. And there are other trenches in the ocean, but those are all formed by plate tectonics, and those are fairly well understood. But I'm not sure what would be down there that would be of interest to this conversation. But I'm not really sure, to be honest, what he was talking about with the trench.
With just about a minute left, Scotty, give us your websites, your books, and have some fun.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, George, for having me on. You've had me on a number of times over the years, and we always have a good time. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
If people want to engage me, I would invite you to go to my blog, which is scottwolteranswers.blogspot.com. And, I mentioned my website where you can check out my books, www.hookedx.com. And, I would encourage people. It seems like they're running reruns of our old show, America on Earth. I also did many episodes with Peter Stormare on Secrets of the Viking Stone. And then the Gaia series that's coming up, Mysteries of the Knights Templar, with our Grand Master Timothy Hogan, is going to be a great series. And we're pitching a new show with history right now, and we should hear something very soon. So there's a lot of exciting new things that we're working on, and really profound things, information we're going to be bringing forward, which includes the answer to the mystery of Oak Island. But stay tuned, people. There's a lot of really exciting things coming. We live in some really interesting times, profound times. And
we are indeed. Scott, I want you to keep doing the good work and keep in touch with us. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladouceur, Stephanie Smith, Chris Burrows, Tim Banal, Ian Punnett, and George